Hello, my friends. This is the first episode of a new thing we're doing with Woke Nation that'll just be on the YouTube channel, and it's just called Quick Thoughts. And just a few minute videos that just go over questions or ideas very quickly on a whole number of different topics. This one I just wanted to put out there real quick on the rapture. The rapture is something that a theology in a lot of more fundamentalist and charismatic churches. The idea being that it's an eschatological viewpoint that towards the end times, that when Christ returns, those who are saved or the elect will be raptured or taken up to heaven, and there will be a number of people, those who have not trusted in Christ, who are left behind, the damned, and will suffer various tribulations and punishments from God as the world wraps up and winds down, basically under God's judgment. The reason why I wanted to pick this topic of the rapture is because I think that, first off, most of the rapture theology, or where people seem to get the idea that there's a rapture, at least that I've heard, come from Christ's words himself in some of the different gospels. Like, he talks about, one man will be in the field and the other will be taken up. He gives a couple different scenarios where two people will be doing something and one will be taken and the other left behind. I think that the ground is very shaky to draw any sort of concrete idea that there will be a rapture just from those verses alone. And I haven't really seen too much else in the Bible to really convince me of an actual rapture taking place. But more importantly, the whole rapture mentality to me, and the rapture theology, very often gets wrapped up in this end times fervor that seems to have swept through the Christian church in the last several decades, reaching its apex in such fiction works as Tim LaHaye and Jerry B. Jenkins' Left Behind series, where where the rapture has taken place and those who are left behind are suffering under the tribulation, but then they still come to Christ. Which, I don't see how they pull that out of the Bible. But anyway, my problem with the rapture, beyond the fact that I don't think that it's biblical, and I'd be willing to debate somebody, and hear their point of view on where they think the Bible concretely says that there will be a rapture. My problem with it is that it very often lends itself to this kind of escapist Christianity. In other words, this idea that we're just to grudgingly live through our lives in this world, not really, you know, it, it lends itself to an escapist mentality, I think. Too many Christians, when they buy into these ideas that the Left Behind series put out there, they kind of buy into the idea that at any moment Christ is going to return, which is possible. He says that nobody knows the day or the hour, but they really live with this idea that we are supposed to just bite our lip and just grudgingly soldier through this world, and that this world is just going to be burned up and destroyed, and we're eventually going to be in heaven, so who really cares about what happens here on earth? You really see that this rapture idea, this rapture theology, has affected, I think, the church's evangelistic zeal, rather and the way the church addresses the culture. Too many people, when they buy into the rapture and this end times fervor, they and frenzy that sort of springs up along with the rapture, they too often, these type of groups that buy into it, these Christian denominations, they are not the denominations that will then go and try to make a difference in the culture, or a difference in politics, because their idea is that the culture is irrevocably damned, politics is irrevocably damned, and so the Christianity should not be involved in the culture or the politics, but it should instead just be awaiting our eventual rapture so that we can escape because we are the chosen ones, and this damned world will then get its just desserts. I think this is not biblical. I don't think that that is the idea or the spirit or the theme that you find thematically in anything Christ said or in the way the apostles went out and evangelized and spread the gospel to the ends of the earth. I think rather instead we are not supposed to be even really thinking about the day or the hour when Christ might return. And I think we might be very surprised on what that actually looks like when he does return. I have my own opinions about Revelation, the book of Revelation. I think that most of it is actually just a history of the church. I would probably characterize myself as a partial preterist, somebody who believes that many of the um, prophesied happenings in Revelation have already taken place, except for the return of Christ. But I agree very much with there's a theologian named Andrew Sandlin, and then some of what N.T. Wright has said about the mission of the church being sort of preparing the way for Christ's return, and the gospel being, while it is a very individualistic thing, the relationship between God and man and how a sinner becomes right with God, but also the gospel is a renewal. Everywhere it goes, it renews and heals and brings new life. And I think that's a big part of what the church is supposed to be doing, like renewing the culture, renewing politics, renewing the church itself, because so much of it has fallen away these days rather than and so our objective should be this earth, to revitalize and spread the gospel here on this earth, looking forward to the eventual day when there will be a new heavens and a new earth. Not with and that I think there's a crucial difference between that and the very more escapist mentality that the rapture kind of brings about in people that buy into it. This, which again is I see as this idea that we're just supposed to, just kind of put our heads down like you're walking against the wind and just, get through this life as quickly as possible because then we'll be in heaven and the rest of these sinners will get everything they deserve coming to them. And we're not supposed to be too involved in the culture or in politics or any of that because, that's the world's business and we're just not to be a part of it. And I think rather the Christian is supposed to be redeeming the culture and the world around. Now, on our own, we cannot redeem anything, but that's with the gospel. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Anyway, so I don't think the rapture theology is good for the church or really lends itself to a very evangelistic zeal. I think it undermines and undercuts what the apostles did in the after in the wake of Pentecost, going out and taking the gospel to the world. Anyway, that's our quick thought for the week. There'll be an episode, a full length episode, so look for that on addiction. Good night and God be with you.